Fantastic. Well, first of all, welcome to everybody who's joined us tonight. Thank you very much for your time tonight. We appreciate that. But more importantly, thank you for volunteering on Wednesday. Um, we're going to give you a brief sort of explanation in terms of where the event has come from. But all I would say is that on the experience of the volunteers we have at our other event in Winchester, then at the end of Wednesday, you will be absolutely exhausted, will be desperate for a glass of wine, but you'll consider it one of your best days of the year. Now, I'm making that prediction on the basis of the experience and the comments that have been made from some of our Winchester volunteers. So I thought I'd give you, in a moment, I thought I'd give you a brief sort of background in terms of the event itself. So I'm Kevin Stevens, and I'm one of the non-executive directors at Active LD. You'll have already met Betty, who is exec director at Active LD. And Active LD are the organisation that has organised this particular event in collaboration with a number of local Chichester partners who we'll mention in a moment. We'll try and be as quickly as we possibly can today, but for those of you who have already read the welcome pack, you'll realise there's an awful lot that we've got to get through, and we need to sort of ensure that you've got that information to make the day as best as it possibly can be. In the past, we've tried to do these sorts of briefings in Winchester many years ago on the morning of the event, and that just resulted in absolute chaos. So we thought it was best to make this a separate type of briefing in the comforts of your own home. So as a little bit of a background, the Personal Best as an event actually started in Winchester back in 2012 to celebrate the Paralympics being in London. And at the time, I was involved with a local Winchester charity. I was a trustee of a charity called Winchester Go LD. And we were approached by the City Council and asked to see whether we thought a sporting type event would be appropriate to celebrate the Paralympics in London. We did. We worked quite closely with the council and the local leisure centre. And on that particular day, we had almost like a bit of a sports day with 6 events where we had something in the region of about 33 participants and 6 or 7 maybe volunteers. It was such a success, and the participants and the athletes enjoyed it so much that we decided to run this as an annual event. And so over the years, the numbers have actually grown, both in terms of the athletes and in terms of the volunteers and in terms of all the people who want to be involved in this particular event. And in 2024, that number was the number of participants was over 200, and the number of volunteers was 67, I think. So that gives you an idea in terms of the background. And as I say, you know, not only do the volunteers actually enjoy the day, they come back year after year after year, which only goes to show that how we've actually been able to progress the numbers from 6 to 67. And we hope, beyond hope, that you'll all feel in the same sort of position at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. I can predict that you will. I don't think we need to do any more than that, Betty, in terms of the background. So if we want to move on to the next slide, and perhaps you can give us an idea of what the aims of the Personal Best are.
Right. Yeah. So we have five main aims on the Personal Bests to inspire participation in inclusive sport, to celebrate the achievement and build confidence. And that's been a really sort of over the years, that's been a really big part of the day. And celebrating achievement, however big or small that achievement might seem, every participant is worth being celebrated, and we want to be celebrating what they can do and recognizing their own personal best. That the playing field for a lot of our guys isn't very level, and so it's not a comparison or a competition. It's about doing your personal best. Also, really important to us that we're promoting disability sport and focusing on what our participants can do, and trying to really focus on healthy lifestyles and supporting positive changes in lifestyle to promote ongoing sport as well, or ongoing physical activity. So about creating those lasting connections, and building opportunities as well. The work that we do with our coaches and the work that we want to be doing to help our coaches and perhaps local clubs linked with those coaches to develop or enhance accessible offerings that they've already got going, or perhaps new offerings in the pipeline that we can help be a bit of a catalyst for. And then the last part of our aims is the empowerment through involving our participants and in education. So I know some of you will have had a look at our autism awareness session, which some participants have helped with. Active LDs really focuses on trying to hear the voices and get the advice from people with learning disabilities right at the core of our decision making. So I'm really thrilled that Evie is on the call this evening, because Evie she will be a participant in Winchester, but she's coming as a volunteer to help our volunteer team at our Chichester event. And it's people like Evie who has that first-hand experience of knowing exactly what it's like to have a learning disability that helps guide us and helps advise us so that we've got a chance of getting it right.
Betty, I was just going to say as well that, in terms of those aims, we can actually demonstrate that in Winchester, we do have people who take part in the personal best, and that is a springboard for them to take part in other more regular sporting activities. We've got some of the members some of the people who have been participants have gone on to do the park run, they've gone on to boxing exercises and many other things, particularly in swimming world as well. So, I think that ultimately is one of the big aims, is to get people with LD to take more activity from a sporting perspective on a more regular basis. We just want to have more people with LD more active more often, and we can demonstrate that the personal best is a springboard for that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Kevin. And I think for the LD community in particular, a lot of our participants won't know if they enjoy an activity until they've given it a go. And so that first hand of trying it and seeing if they like it can absolutely open up a world or a springboard into enjoying and engaging in regular physical activity. So I think Kevin mentioned in the introduction our event management team, the partners who are involved in helping us to deliver this event on Wednesday. So Kevin and I are both part of Active LD. We've had a huge amount of help and support and advice from the team at TOC, so Together Our Community. They're a local learning disability charity based in Winchester. And
Chichester.
In Chichester. And their young people have done a site visit for us and given us lots of really good bits of feedback and useful information. A huge thanks to the University of Chichester, who are another one of our partners, for allowing us to be on their site for the day on Wednesday. Chichester District Council are also part of our event management team, and they've helped us hugely by supporting us through one of their grants as well. So through their fast track grant, our event's been supported. And of course, Everyone Active, which is where the first link for us and Chichester started, because our sister event here in Winchester had one of our partners as Everyone Active, and they made the introduction from their Winchester team to Ben and his team at Everyone Active. So that's sort of how we all fit together. We hope and we think that by having a group of the event management team of 4 or 5 different organisations, that helps us be really quite robust in terms of our governance and helps us hold each other to account and make sure that we're really dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So we really hope that we've achieved that. We think we have. And then we've got our coaches and the different sports that we've got on offer, or I should say physical activity perhaps rather than sport. So we've got tennis from the Chichester Rackets and Fitness Club. We've got softball from Chichester Falcons. We've got running and athletics from the Chichester Runners and Athletics Club. Got disability cricket from Sussex Cricket Foundation. We've got dance. I think it's dance and Zumba, or it's dance with a bit of Zumba from Joe Tarr. And we've also got football from Personal Best Education, and that's one of Kevin's buddies has come across to help us out with that one as well. So we've got 6 different activities on track for tomorrow, which for Wednesday, which is exciting.
Yeah, sorry, Betty. I was just going to say that it's been quite a task trying to get as many coaches as we possibly can involved in this, because they know nothing about us because these are local clubs. But the one thing virtually all of them have said is that we really don't want to be part of anything that is just a one-off. We want there to be some sort of legacy from the event, and so we would like to hold our own weekly, monthly sessions for people with LD. So it's already started to actually cascade, if you like, in terms of those aims, that there is going to be more. There's certainly the demand, which you'll see from the event on Wednesday, but there's not always the provision that's in the right place at the right time. So having the dialogue with these guys and being able to meet the participants as well will make a huge difference in terms of the clubs and the events and sessions that are on offer. Sorry, Betty.
Right. So in terms of the volunteer experience on the day, we'll try this evening to give you just a little bit of a feel for what to expect. But I think the bottom line probably is to slightly expect the unexpected, and don't be terribly surprised if it feels a little bit chaotic at the beginning. That's completely normal, and that's all part of the plan. So don't worry about things. Things normally take at least one transition, if not 2, to start really running smoothly. So in terms of the types of volunteers, we have really 3 main types of volunteers. We'll have and I'll go into them in detail in a moment, but we'll have our activity volunteers, our country or our team volunteers, and then we've got some other special volunteer roles. For example, our mascots need to have volunteers, or they need willing volunteers to be popped inside the mascot costumes. We have some volunteer role on registration. I have a couple of meet and greet type volunteer roles as well. So I tend not to give the allocations for volunteer roles until the day, because we quite often get a last minute changes if someone's poorly, or there are some people who may have kind of be pulled away for a last minute. It can become a little bit a bit complicated having to redo the schedule too early on. So your allocations will be there on the morning. So first of all, when you get there, now there is car parking at the university, and the car park. So we are covering the costs. We get a really heavily discounted cost for car parking, and we are covering the costs for our volunteers because we don't want you to be out of pocket on the day. But we can only cover the costs if we have your registration number. And I think most people have given their registration number, which is excellent. And that has all been passed on. If for any reason you haven't given your registration number, or if you know of someone who's there who had forgotten, don't worry, we can sort it out on the day as well. So all is not lost. But you'll get a heavy car parking fine if you don't give me your registration number. That's kind of the bottom line there. The first challenge is to get to the car park. Now, for those of you who know Chichester and know Chichester University and Bishop's Otter campus well, then you won't have any trouble. For those who are coming from a little further afield, there is a postcode, PO 196PE, and we're going to have a couple of volunteers to help direct to the parking and direct from parking to the sports hall. The site isn't very big, and the site isn't very big, but I think it would still be possible to get lost. So we'll see who manages to who manages to find it and who manages to get lost. But hopefully you'll all find it no problem. The other bit of information for volunteers, we ask our volunteers to wear a red t-shirt, and a red t-shirt really helps our participants know who is a volunteer and who is support. So it's useful for our participants, it's useful for our coaches. We don't insist that you have an event t-shirt. So if you have your own red t-shirt that you'd prefer to wear, then absolutely go ahead. There's no problem there at all. If you happen to have an old personal best t-shirt from a Winchester event, welcome to wear that too, if you'd like to. If you would like a 2025 personal bests branded t-shirt, we are offering them for £5 on the day, and I've got a range of sizes, so they will be available. We can definitely take cash, and we think we can take card payments as well. I've got this snazzy new app on my phone which promises to take card payments, so fingers crossed that works, but definitely we can take cash or back payments.
Sorry, Betty, I was just going to say that I will be doing a welcome and an introduction to all of the participants. And by definition, some of the guys will be a little anxious of what's going to happen on the day, and we'll try and actually spell out in really simple terms exactly what will happen. And one of the things I will always say is, if you have any problems, please just speak to somebody in a red t-shirt, and that's easily identifiable for them. And so we would really appreciate it if you can wear a red t-shirt. As Betty says, it doesn't need to be this one that you can see on the screen, but just a red t-shirt would be brilliant. Thank you.
So once you've got your car parked and you've arrived to the Tudor Hale Sports Centre, and you've picked up your t-shirt if you wanted to buy one, we're doing a welcome, which is not a repeat of the briefing. We're doing a welcome and a site orientation between about 9:15 and 9:45, so that you can see where our various activities are going to be taking place. You can see where the toilets are, which may be useful for you, but it's also very useful to be able to signpost participants to them. Water fountains, the quiet spaces, things like that are quite useful to know and to get a bit of a feel of the layout. The event starts at 10, which is when we have a welcome and a warm-up for the participants, and that's really about getting the participants feeling comfortable, welcomed, beginning to build their confidence, and to get them kind of eager and ready to go. We have a break for lunch. Officially, I think that's 12:10 to 1:20, but there's 10 minutes either side of that to get from the activity and to the following activity. So it's actually about a 50-minute break. There isn't a restaurant, or the restaurant is not available to us on site. There are vending machines, but we do ask, we're asking participants and volunteers to bring a packed lunch, and you'd be able to eat either inside in the hall or outside. There's lots of green space and sort of quiet areas if you want to eat your lunch outside. The activities finish at about 2:25, so say around 2:30, and then we have an award ceremony. The awards is just for the personal best of each sporting activity. So the person who's really shone at, say, for example, tennis, running, softball, so on. And that's not necessarily the person with the most talent. That is the person who has has given their very best, and whose best has really shone through on the day. So if there's quite a list of sort of suggested responsibilities for the different types of volunteer roles. They will be printed out they'll be printed out on the day, and they'll be accessible to read and to look at. So don't worry, you don't need to remember all of this at all. But for information, if you are a country volunteer, then your job really is to welcome the participants and to guide the participants around their day, so to escort them around the activities of the day. Part of the welcoming is to give them their T-shirt, their name badge, their water bottle, and their wristband. So T-shirts have been pre-ordered to the size requested. So we don't have many, because we're trying to keep costs down. We don't have many spare T-shirts. So if someone had ordered a small but is in fact a large, then we can try and sort it out. But that may be a little bit tricky in that moment. The name badges. People who are happy to have their photographs taken, and this is the same not just for participants, this is for everybody. People who are happy to have their photo taken have a white name badge, just a white address label style name badge. For people who are not happy to have their photograph taken or their photograph shared, it will be a yellow name badge. We quite often recommend on the water bottles, we give each country a Sharpie, and we quite often recommend writing a participant's name on the water bottle, just so that they keep their own water bottle and they're not being sort of shared around too much. That's sometimes quite helpful. And the wristband is allocated for the country. So for example, Team Great Britain will have a blue wristband. Team China have a red wristband. And that blue wristband means that if somebody gets lost or is sort of disjointed from their team, then it's quite easy for us to get them back into their team. Or if someone perhaps needs some time in the quiet room or quiet space, then it'll be easy for us to be able to help them back to their country with just by glancing at their wristband. The most important thing with all the volunteers, but especially with the country volunteers, you're going to be with your group all day. So you'll be with somewhere between about 10 individuals all day. They will have support and carers with them, and perhaps family carers too. So your job is not to be involved with their support needs, but your job is to help enable them to have a really good day and a really fun day. And some of that will mean getting involved, getting stuck in, chatting to them, taking part, and just being a lovely energized friend. So the other main type of volunteer is the activity volunteers. So these are volunteers who we allocate a set sport or a set activity for the day. So it might be, for example, tennis, and your task will be to help the coach deliver a tennis session to 6 groups, so 6 countries, during the day. You'll get to meet every single participant in that role, so you'll have maybe a less in-depth connection with the participants, but you will see more participants. Your job really is to be an extra pair of hands for the coach, and to help chaperone and help escort participants from their previous activity to yours. So if, for example, you're in I don't know, if you're in dance and the next activity is football, then be aware of where the football group are going to be, and so you can point your group into the right direction and set them off along the right track, or in the right way when it's changeover time. The only other thing with the activity volunteers is the last activity of the day, so the one that is going to be between about 2 and 2:25, At the end of that activity, so before 2:25 past, we ask you to hand out medals and certificates to your group. So it'll be a group of about 10 people. We find that we have tried in the past to do a medal and certificate ceremony for the whole group of participants en masse, and we found that that was a little bit exhaustive for most of the gang to cope with. It was an awful lot of clapping and not a huge amount of action that went on. So having it within that country group where you've got 10 participants, I think makes it a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more personal. And then the last bit of the activity volunteer role is to help with the coaches to give us a short list of who in your activity over the course of the day has really shone. And from that short list, we award a personal best for tennis, cricket, running, etc.
Oh, sorry, Betty. I was
sorry,
just
more.
so
Yep.
I was just about to say the medals and the certificates are a huge part of the day, because the certificates are a certificate of participation. And for many of the guys, just being able to come out of their comfort zone, go to a completely new place, actually take part in front of lots of other people in different events is a huge, huge achievement. So we really like to make the most out of that particular ceremony, if you like, just to celebrate their achievements. And they love it as well. It's a big thing. And for some of our participants, it can be the only sort of time that they've received any public acknowledgement of their achievement. And so it's a big thing. We've had tears of joy in the past for a small little medal and a lovely little certificate. So it is a big moment. So if you can really appreciate that sort of sense of achievement, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. And also, when we talk about the personal best shortlist for trophy winners, try not to get too sort of hung up on that, because Betty and I will be coming around and talking to the teams, the events on a regular basis. So if you're struggling a little bit to know exactly what to look for, then we can help you with that at the time.
Right. So really leading on from what Kevin just mentioned about for some of the participants, pitching up, coming somewhere new, being part of a group that they might be familiar with or they might be a little bit less familiar with, that can be a really big deal. And I think it's worth just being aware that although the event is an inclusive sports day primarily for people with learning disabilities, people with learning disabilities will all, or many of them, will have other either neurodiversities or other difficulties or needs that might compound or might affect the way that they interact or the way that they behave or what they're able to do. So we know that we have people with learning disabilities coming along. Some will also have autism. Some will also have ADHD. We have some wheelchair users. We have some people who are not wheelchair users but have other physical disabilities. We have a few people who have both either hearing impairment or sight impairment or both. We have asked them in advance to give us a bit of a heads up so that we know what to expect, which we've passed across to our coaches. But what we've found in the past is very often what we're told to expect is not always exactly the reality of what we're confronted with or what we find on the day. So although we have a bit of an idea of what to expect, we also need to slightly expect the unexpected. And I think bearing in mind the huge range of different challenges that a lot of these individuals or a lot of our participants have just for pitching up and coming to the day, I think we need to be really respectful of and keep quite an open mind of how different individuals might interact and how they might respond to different sort of inputs and different sensory inputs and different stress factors during the day. For some people, being sort of G'd up and kind of cheered along is incredibly motivating and really positive, builds confidence, makes them feel great. For other individuals, being G'd up and being kind of cheered along can be really, really difficult and can be really overwhelming for them. And so I think it's just really important to know that and to remember that there is absolutely no one size fits all, and to try and just adapt your interactions to your audience. Their carers and their support will be absolutely on hand to give you a heads up, or to give you some help, or some hints if there is somebody who's struggling a little bit. And the other thing about if somebody is struggling or becoming a little bit overwhelmed, we have some quiet spaces. We're having a gazebo outside as a quiet space, and we're having a room inside. I think it's going to be the rehab room inside as a quiet space. The participants, if they need time out, they are more than welcome at any time to take time out. It doesn't matter if that means missing part of a session, doesn't matter if it means running a bit late for a session. That's okay. We work with whatever pace and whatever they need. So that was a little bit about kind of the different ways that different people might present, and we covered that a little bit on our autism awareness session, which I think some of you will have been to or listened to. The other thing about how different participants might interact it almost comes down to whether they're, and I suppose one way of putting it might be whether their filters are in place or not, or whether they might be saying just what's coming into their head just at the moment it comes into their head, and it might not always be the most appropriate thing to say. So I think there's some participants in the past at our Winchester event, when they've been caught up in the moment or got very enthusiastic, may have said some things that might not land socially very well, or might be a little bit might seem a little bit raunchy, or a little bit cheeky perhaps. And I think we were asked by volunteers in the past for some guidance of what should they say back, or how should they interact. And I think my advice really would be just to be direct, to be polite, be calm, but also to be direct. So it's okay to tell someone that they shouldn't say something, and it's okay to tell someone that you didn't like what they said to you. That's completely fine. You don't need to be cross with them about it, but just say, no, I don't like you talking to me like that, and then move on. Or ask their support, whether, and mention to them, but don't worry about it. And if there is any concern, or if there is any worry, do come and find us, and we'll see what we can do. We want you guys to have a really great time, as well as our participants.
Just to put this into context, I am an old man now, but I, over the last 13 years, have had about 7 proposals of marriage at some stage or another. So, that filter that Betty talks about is often quite switched off in a big way.
I've never been proposed to. I had other offers though. So I mentioned a little bit about the quiet space as well. We have mentioned to day services and to participants in their packs that if they are sensitive to noise, it would be sensible to bring their noise cancelling headphones with them. We don't have spare headphones. It doesn't quite seem appropriate to be sharing those around, but we do have, in our quiet space, we have got a range of fidget toys, and we've got a range of fidget toys. We've also got some communication cards, because we know that for some people, particularly autistic people with a learning disability, when they're overwhelmed, or they've got a sensory overwhelm, that may push them into a slightly more non-verbal state, or that may reduce their access to verbalization, or to talking. So the communication cards are with each country, and you're welcome to use them. We've never had them before, so we're really interested to see how useful they are. We really hope they're going to hope that there'd be the helpful, either helpful resource or just helpful to have as something available, just to know if you needed it or if the support needed it. Then moving on to kind of where the different activities are going to happen, and there's absolutely no need to remember any of this in terms of the detail. This will all be available on the day. The take-home message from this slide is really to explain that we have a wet weather plan, a sunny day plan or a nice weather plan, and a pouring with rain plan. If it's slightly drizzly or if there is an occasional shower, it's going to be the good weather plan. The wet weather plan is only if it's pouring with rain. Okay, we have got some ponchos. We've got sort of temporary sort of wet weather shower type kit. So we would like to be running the event half inside, half outside. The reason there are different space allocations in the morning to the afternoon is that there are some facilities that are only available to us in the afternoon that we thought were too good not to take use of. So, for example, the AstroTurf, for those doing cricket, football, softball in the afternoon, the AstroTurf will be, we think it will be a really great opportunity to use that. And so we wanted to be able to, since we have that for the afternoon, we wanted to be able to use that for those groups. So, and likewise with wet weather plan, we have the dome for the afternoon, but not available in the morning. The reason it's not available in the morning is because Chichester Uni are also hosting a summer school for international students. We're not expecting to rub shoulders too much with the international students. They'll be kept quite separate from our group, but they may well be walking around in the building and they may be using the toilets. That shouldn't cause a problem for our volunteers. That shouldn't cause a problem for our participants, and our support workers and day services all know about that. It's not really any different from using a public leisure centre, I don't think, but it's just something to be aware of. Kevin, was there anything about the wet weather and dry weather?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think obviously we're the morning and the afternoon moving around is, as Betty said, a little awkward, but it shouldn't make too much difference in terms of moving from one place to the other because they're all quite close together. I mean, clearly the best will in the world, we would have had the one location for both morning and afternoon. And we're hopeful that should the event be a success, that we can book the university again next year, and hopefully we'd be able to have that sort of scenario. But at this stage, it's our first event, and nobody really knows what to expect other than maybe ourselves who have had the experience at Winchester. So we will have to work it out on the date, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem, frankly.
And then each country will be given a timetable just of their day of which sessions they're going to be. Oh, sorry, the barking. Hang on. Sorry about that. So yes, you'll be given a timetable of the day, and we will have whole group timetables up and available as well. So there should be no need and no cause for not knowing where you are, and we can help point you in the right directions.
Yeah, I think also, Betty, what I was going to say is that the schedule is the same for each team. Everyone starts in a different place, obviously, but their next event is always the same. So, for instance, if you take your country, Great Britain, here to tennis, you'll know that the next event is cricket. And for those guys who are volunteers within the tennis on its own, you're in a position to be able to signpost all of the teams to say that their next event is cricket. So that should work quite easily, but obviously you've got these timetables in the pack anyway to help you.
We touched on photographs a little bit earlier on, didn't we? So all participants have been asked whether they give photo consent or not. Out of 56 participants who've signed up so far, we may have one or two late entries on the day, but of the 56 who've signed up so far, there is just one who is no photos. So don't worry if your country doesn't have any that says that they're all fine for photos. That's probably true because, as I say, we've only got one no photos registered at this stage. And they will be wearing a yellow name badge and additional white wristband. The reason that we have the wristband and the name badge is that some individuals don't like to wear one or other. And so we thought if we went belt and braces, then if they don't like one of them, we've got something to fall back on. In terms of photo and video sharing, we're really happy, and we'd like to encourage our volunteers to take photographs because we really enjoy seeing the photographs, and we enjoy sharing them, and you get to see some really great parts and great moments of the day. What we would ask though is that if you're taking photographs, before sharing them publicly, so before putting them on social media or sharing them publicly, if you could send them to me first, and we double check that that there isn't a photo consent or photo sharing consent issue. Obviously, if the photograph is just of you and a family member or sort of people that you know very closely, that's a little bit different. But I'm thinking of the times where you might have a group and there are people in the background, and there may be one or two who would prefer not to have their photo shared. And then the last little bits were just I put venue. This is for me to remind me to tell you that the University of Chichester is a cashless venue. So with the exception of perhaps last minute £2 parking or perhaps £5 volunteer t-shirt, anything that you buy at the university, so through their vending machines, for example, or their Costa coffee outlets, that will need to be cashless. We don't have the restaurant, but we do have, I think, a Costa, and we do have vending machines. First aid, we've got a number of first aiders on duty for the day. The main first aid provision is through the University of Chichester, so through their sports facility. So if there is a problem, then let us know at the reception of the sports centre at Tudor Hale reception. In addition to the university first aiders, many of our coaches are first aid. Well, I think all our coaches are first aiders, and our event management team are first aiders as well. Toilets, there are lots of toilets available on the site. Now we're quite strict, or we try to be quite strict in terms of advice that we give for toilets, that it is not the job of a volunteer to escort a participant into a toilet cubicle. By all means, if somebody needs to know where the bathrooms are or where the toilets are, then you're welcome to direct them. You're welcome to walk them to the toilet and wait outside. That's no problem. But it's any suggestion of personal care or of entering the toilet with a participant is something that we quite strongly advise against. If somebody needs assistance for personal care, they will have brought support with them, so they will have someone on hand to help them. Food and hygiene, Kevin and I had a quick run through these slides before the call, and I think I just said to Kevin, I've got to tell everyone to bring a packed lunch and to wash their hands. So that's what that means basically. And lost participants, I was not to laugh at this bit. I conjured up an image of a stray dog or a feral cat that had just kind of wandered off and popped a poster on a lamppost. That's not quite what we meant by lost participant. A lost participant, somebody who's become detached from their group. That's why we've got the different coloured wristbands. But I think it is also worth mentioning that the University of Chichester is not a closed site, and there's a small College Lane. I think it's College Lane, College Street or College Lane, next to the university. It's not a hugely busy road, but there is traffic on that road. And the guys could, if there was someone who was intent on leaving the site, it would be well possible to. So if you see somebody and the participants should be pretty obvious because they'll all be wearing a green t-shirt, so they'll all be wearing exactly the same colour t-shirt. If you see somebody wandering along the sort of periphery or around the perimeter, then by all means go up to them and ask them what they're up to, or ask them if they need any help. Safeguarding and welfare. Any safeguarding concerns, so any concerns that you have that somebody might be at risk from harm or abuse, or if you're worried about anybody, do come and tell me. I'm our safeguarding lead, so come and tell me, and we'll work out what's sort of what the concern is, and then we'll start with the next steps, and it'll depend on which day service and which group they're in, and as to how that will escalate, if indeed it's something that would need escalating. But don't be worried about something and not say it. We much prefer you to come and tell me about it, and we'll sort it out. Okay. And then contact details for the day. This is the last slide. The best way of contacting us, well, the best way of contacting us really is to try and call Kevin for. I'm just kidding.
that will probably not elicit the right response. It'll probably be a mistake.
We put our numbers on the welcome pack. They're there as well on the screen. It will be much easier for us to respond to a phone call, a text, or a WhatsApp than it will be an email on the day. It's unlikely that we'll be checking our emails throughout the day, because we'll be all hands on deck. So using the phone number is just a little bit more likely to get us, or we'll be on site and you'll spot us. Okay, I think that's it. Any questions?
I don't know if you can hear me. I've been having troubles with my computer. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
we can, yeah.
The timetables that we've seen today and also in the welcome pack, do we need to bring our own copies of that?
No, I've got some A3 laminated copies ready to plaster on the walls.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Evie, are you happy with everything you've heard? Excellent. Well done. Well done.
Oh, I'm
Right.
very impressed that everyone's still here. We haven't put them off. Oh, it is a really, really brilliant day. Like, yeah, it's a very, very cool day, and it will be really fun.
Yeah, and I just wanted to finish really by saying, you know, Betty mentioned chaos earlier before. We have one group, one day service group from the Havant area, whose name of the day service is Creating Chaos. So it tells you that we have definitely going to have an element of chaos. We have a new venue, we have a new event, we have new participants, we have new volunteers, new coaches. It's going to take a little while to gel. The event in Winchester is absolutely seamless in terms of how it works together. We still have problems with that event, and that's after 13 years. So please don't be put off by the chaos as you see it in the first instance. It will manifest itself into one of the best events that you've actually been to in the year. I guarantee that. So if you have any problems, as we say, Betty and I will be going around from group to group to group, and just tell us at the time, or contact us via that phone number, and we'll be able to sort something out. And please don't be too sort of spooked by the fact of when we talked about the different sort of conditions that people may have as in terms of their attendance, because you know, lots of the guys, hardly any of the guys will come along without any support whatsoever. So there'll be carers for nearly everyone, and that level of care would be determined by how much support the individuals need. So, you know, it is about just keeping everyone in a really good space, keeping them safe, and helping them enjoy the entertainment of the day.
And although the key part is for the participants to have a good day, we really want you guys to have a brilliant day as well, because we want you to enjoy it so much that you come back next year. So if there's anything we can do on the day to make your day go better, let us know. We'll do our absolute best.
And also, you know, after the event, if it's successful enough, we really hope that we'll be able to do the same thing next year, and bigger and better, hopefully. But, you know, we would like feedback after the event as well. So if there's stuff there that you think, you know, that was good, but it could be better if this happened or that happened, then that will be really, really helpful and welcomed as well. Okay, Betty, do we think we're done?
I'm good. If everyone's happy, I'm good.
Brilliant. Well, thanks everybody for coming along tonight. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Evie, as well, for your special attendance. And